was approached to do this talk, I was really surprised because I wondered what qualified me to do something like this. I felt I was just a regular mum on the other side of the phone. My struggles were not unique. My life was very ordinary, actually. I wasn't able to perceive what was going on the other side of the phone from my side. But of course, when you're approached for something like this, it's very hard to say no, especially when I felt I had so much to say, but I'm not a speaker. So I wondered how I was going to do this. How do I plan? How do I script this? And I'm not someone who can be scripted. And in the end, I thought, I'm going to do this the only way that I know how, and that is by simply speaking from the heart and being as honest as I can and telling you a little bit about my journey. So, my name is Freya Jaffar. I'm British Pakistani, and I've been living in the UAE for about 12 years now. And I'm a mum, so I live here with my family. So for as long as I can remember, I always felt like I struggled internally with culture, with what society expected of me at every phase of my life. Growing up as a married woman, as an older woman, as a mother, there were expectations that were not natural to me, and they were not bringing out the best of me. They were not bringing me happiness, and I didn't feel at peace or fulfilled in these ways. But I lived that path because I knew of nothing else. And like everyone else, the struggles were relatable. I faced bereavement, I faced heartbreak, there are money issues, betrayal. So these are things most people can identify with. But I was always very, very sensitive, and I'm the type of person who extracts and absorbs energy from whatever surrounds me, people, situations. So that was what eventually brought me metaphorically to my knees. I had completely run out of steam, and I had nowhere actually to go, to turn to. On the outside, my life looked perfect to everybody. You know, I had no reason to complain, but it was almost as if I was this shell, and I was just box ticking at every point. There was no me in the equation of life. It was always for someone else, for some reason, and living another way. So by talking today, I hope that there is a glimmer of hope for someone watching to see that if I can change it with my limitations, if I can pull myself out of something like this, then anyone can do it. So I'm going to start off to tell you a story about dal. Now, dal is a traditional South Asian food which is very, very cheap to eat, to make. Lentils, like lentil soup. So my earliest memory of, you could say, hopelessness is associated to this. When I was a child, like most homes, everyone has ups and downs, and I remember my parents faced a phase where it was very difficult financially. I remember we had a period where there was 11 days where there was only dal in the house. There was no food, there was not even an onion, there was not milk, there was nothing in the house. And I remember, you could add a cup of water to the lentils to kind of extend it, the quantity. And I remember those 11 days till now. I think I was 8 or 9 at the time when this happened. And it's not the dal as such I remember, but it's the humiliation and the hopelessness that my parents faced. They were completely lost, and it exposed me to a world very early on where when you have money and you're in a good position, everybody's your friend. But when you lose everything, there is nobody there to help you. You really are on your own. And I recall being so young, and I remember thinking that, I hate this feeling. I couldn't put into words at that age, but I knew that I hated that feeling and I never wanted to experience that again. And I kind of made a vow that if I ever get into a position where I can do anything to help someone, I will do that, because no one should feel this, and no one should see their loved ones experience this. So that feeling, that first feeling, being so sensitive and absorbing the energy around me, that was one of my earliest memories of when humans are literally down to rock bottom. So move forward up a little bit. Life happened. Went to school, college, got married, had children, box ticked everything more or less. And it's in this phase of my life where I faced the most difficult times, I would say, emotionally. It's when I experienced bereavement, deceit, postnatal depression, and I was now living in a country where I didn't have family. So I'd completely lost my way, and I recall that this was impacting me as a mother so much. I had switched off for almost 12 months. I think I hadn't said a word. I was just getting up, I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was just functioning. And when I realized that this is impacting me as a mother, as a parent, I knew things had to change. So now I was back, trapped in the days of Dal. That hopelessness had come back. Life had somehow come back, grabbed me and just shook me and taken me back to that moment in time. And I realized suddenly, I have to get myself out of this, from facing death to betrayal. There was only me who I could depend on. How was I going to do this? And I remember the exact moment that this journey on social media started. I had a newborn baby in my arms. I had other small children, and I had my mobile phone in my other hand. And as a new mom, you're always sort of feeding, so you're just sitting there. You have a huge amount of time on your hands, yet you're extremely physically busy. So my only window to the world was my mobile phone. So as I would feed my child, I would sit there scrolling through, trying to find some online support. I was ready to get the help. And back in those days, I'm talking sort of 8 years ago now, it was very difficult to find anything which was geared towards Abu Dhabi and Google. Google kind of failed Abu Dhabi in terms of real-time information. It was very difficult to come across accurate information for daily basis and things like that. So I figured social media might have an answer for me. So I went over to various platforms, and I ended up on Facebook. Now, I thought there must be a group, surely, for something like this based in the capital of Abu Dhabi, and there wasn't anything like this. And I remember I sat there and I thought, I'm going to make a vehicle of support for myself, where I can solve my issues, ask my questions, pour my heart out, and find a network where I can help myself, where I can bring myself back. So I formed a Facebook group, and I called it Abu Dhabi Q&A. And I added 70 people from my friends list, and they were people living here in Abu Dhabi. And it was useful in the beginning. There were questions and there were answers. That was the whole idea. You post a question and the members reply to the answers. And I wasn't sure when I was going to add my personal questions and then how I was going to do it, because so many these are my friends in there, 50, 60, 70 of them. So when the group crossed, I think it was about 500 people, which is pretty quick, that was when I dropped the first dozen bombshells of anonymous posts, and they were all mine. And I remember just writing away under an anonymous post banner, pouring my heart out, telling my story, dividing my story up into multiple posts. And I did this over the course of a month or two. And it was so liberating. It was so liberating just to say whatever I could because these are the things I couldn't say to family, to friends. I felt humiliation again. I felt shame. I felt ungrateful for what people perceived I had, but I was struggling. So this just completely liberated me. And what I found was that people who were answering those posts and advising and offering support, some of them were my friends, only they didn't know it was me. So I remember just their replies were extremely heartwarming. They reduced me to tears, and I felt instantly better. I felt connected to them. I wish I could have said, it's me, but I didn't. So then what happened was this effect of the anonymous post just grew. People couldn't believe there was someone in Abu Dhabi who felt like this and who they could relate to. These were all the struggles that no one could talk to. It was hard. It was easier to talk to a stranger than it was to someone you knew. So somehow, by seeking help for myself, others came forward, and now the roles are reversed. I was now helping other people, and suddenly I had this purpose in my day. I thought, okay, what is going on in the community today? I'm going to deal with this. And I became almost militant for 3 years, where the phone was attached to my body, literally. Anyone who knew me at the time will know I was just on my phone. I had 4 small children who are now growing up, but I was neck deep in community issues, from employment to mental health, to people feeling lonely, not having food on their table. It was just people were opening up with all sorts of stories of heartbreak, and they had completely absorbed me into their lives, telling me their stories. And I connected. I knew because of these feelings, going back to the story of when I was younger, and knowing what that feels like, absorbing this energy. And I didn't want other people to feel like that. And I felt if I could help just by listening or giving them my time, that's what I'm going to do, because that's all I really had. So my healing process started. I suddenly felt that I was enjoying this. It gave me direction in my own little world. This is what I'm going to do. My problems were still there, but I now had somewhere else to look. I had a new direction, and I was distracted for a little while from the reality. So while I was distracted for a little while, the worldly veneer was slipping. I was now becoming myself. Everything I was online, I am online, is me. And I was finding purpose. I was finding happiness. And the voice that I kept hearing the last few years, that kept telling me that everything I was, everything about my character that would carry no value in the world, would make, you can't survive in the world with these skills. I was suddenly relying on those skills, and I was making a small difference. I got to know myself by helping others, by being involved in the community. I suddenly knew my strengths. I knew what I was capable of. I started dreaming again. I felt like I could change things. And as the social media was a byproduct of the community work, I went along with it, and I decided to shift the focus on myself. And now I was seen, I was heard. I wasn't supposed to be culturally, but now I was everywhere, because I wanted to carve out my own life. And in the process, I had to risk being misunderstood for the short term, where, I faced again situations of deceit, of being used, but I had to keep focused, and that was to help myself, to change my life, help other people change their lives, make a difference in the world, have a purpose in my life. I could not take my eyes off the ball, even if that meant removing people from the equation of that journey, because I couldn't let go of what I set out to do, what I'd poured the last 7 years into. So for the short term, it's a risk that sometimes you have to take to find your purpose, to prioritize yourself. So I had a little bit more work to do, and I finally found the strength and the courage to try and carve out my own life, where now I can become independent, financially independent, be an example to my children that you don't have to settle for second best. You just need your strength. You have to get to know yourself first. Once you know yourself and you know your capabilities, there's nothing that can stop you. And with all my limitations and without any money, starting from scratch and just going on my character and staying true to my word, being sincere and loyal, I managed to lift myself out of that quagmire that I felt I would just be in forever. And I hope that you take away a lesson where, that it's nothing extraordinary. It's the ordinary. It was the ordinary moments in the day that I wanted to fix. And those were my stepping stones. And now I'm in the third phase of my journey, where I have taken the decision to become independent, and I still have a long way to go. So I just want to end on saying that whatever your dreams are, don't forget them and keep hold of them, and get to know yourself. Get to know yourself, because we can do so many things. And I wish you all the best in that.